Hi, today is Monday. It is the 20th of April. My name is Adam Hebener. I'm the CEO of Modern Mortgage, and this is today's Modern Minute. And guys, if you've been following any of the information we have shared with you over the last several weeks, then you're by now pretty aware of the idea of separating signals from noise. And you know that I believe, not just in the financial markets, but really in all kinds of areas of our lives, the ability to kind of find out what is true and separate it from what looks to be true but is actually false is kind of the trick to living well. Well, I restrict most of my comments to financial markets. I'm going to do that again today, but I want to give you a couple of tips. We told you on Thursday and Friday of last week not to be distracted by what you're seeing in the S&P and the NASDAQ. Equities in the United States have continued to kind of thrum higher and higher. I've encouraged you to keep your eyes off of those equities as a signal for what's happening in the economy, because really they're just noise. They're not signaling things that are true. And instead, I've encouraged you to keep your eyes on oil. Oil today, unfortunately, has sent us a pretty big signal. It was an expected signal if you were watching what was happening correctly. But unfortunately, it crashed just as we expected it would. It crashed all the way down, not just to zero, but well past zero, and as of market close, was in the low $40 per barrel negative. And so what that means is that owners of barrels of oil were actually willing to sell you, to pay you to take oil off their hands. Now, I won't explain what that's about. I touched on it a couple of weeks back. It's a phenomenon called a super contango, and something we can look further into if people want to understand how it works. But suffice to say, it's a function of the cost of storing oil and how expensive that cost of storing oil is versus the future value of oil and today's contracts. So we can talk more about how that works at another time. But for now, what I want you to understand is the things that you're seeing happen in the economy, these are now some of the bigger dominoes that unfortunately are beginning to fall. They will lead to things like greater unemployment. That is now going to be an inevitable result of where oil's at currently. They will lead to just exactly what we've been sharing with you, kind of a deflationary monetary environment on its way to an inflationary environment. So we're going to keep walking through this bridge. This bridge will be deflationary. On the other side of it, I believe it will be inflationary, despite all the information we've continued to hear on that topic. So all of this stuff, let me give you kind of the next thing to be thinking about. There's a lot of noise out there right now about whether or not we will go back to work. Should we go back to work? Should we not go back to work? And you're hearing, again, like everything else, it's so frustrating, but this is dividing on political lines. Some lines politically are saying we must go back to work. Others are saying we can't go back to work. We must not. And they're talking about it as though it's a question, should we? Let me just help you set that aside. Don't get caught up in that question very much. We are most certainly going to go back to work. There's no question about whether or not we'll do that. Given what we're now seeing in oil, the economy is going to require an increase in demand. That's going to happen as soon as all the current standing orders expire. So I would think in Denver, as of the 26th, they'll start having people going back to work. So if you're worried about that, I would tell you don't worry about it. We're headed back to work on the 26th or after. That doesn't, I don't believe, mean the entire economy will be full swing and restaurants and sports stadiums will be open, but they'll start to kind of move back away from a shelter-in-place mentality and into a mentality that gets back to a little bit of normal. But as that happens, the temptation will be to think, hey, as the sun comes out and people go back to work, this thing's going to be over. I want to encourage you to continue to stay in a mindset of seeking to create resiliency over efficiency. And so what most folks are going to do is say, hey, get back to normal, get back to spending. I don't think that's going to work in most cases, not given what we're seeing with the value of oil and what deflationary pressure would imply. The most important thing you can be doing right now is the thing we've continued to encourage you to do. That is to have reserves. Reduce what you owe as much as you can. Every penny helps. Reduce your cable bill, your cell phone bill, reduce your insurance bills. Call every provider you have and ask them to reduce. And while you're doing that, make sure you're increasing reserves, because reserves are going to be the most valuable thing you can have as you move through this kind of deflationary bridge that I've described in our past transmissions. So I'm going to send you more on this topic this week, but hopefully this helps you think this through a little bit more. You are definitely headed back to work. We are definitely headed into more unemployment and more of what that would imply. We'll talk more about that in coming days. But in the meantime, please keep talking to us. Reply to the emails, comment in the comments, smash like and subscribe. Share us with your friends. Thanks for all you do being part of our community, and we'll continue to try to serve you as best we can. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.